Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mariko Fofana. I would like to welcome you to Stories of Passion. Stories of Passion is a place where we just don't share stories, but we create a safe place to share our stories. If this is your first time joining us, I would like to welcome you to Stories of Passion. Tonight, our topic would be on happiness. What does it mean to be happy? Everybody got a different definition on happiness. Everybody believes that happiness treats people differently. So tonight I will be talking to two distinguished guests. One is from the United States of America, Philadelphia, and the other is from the Republic of Liberia. So you will be hearing from two great men tonight. First, I would like to welcome on board our guest all the way from the Republic of Liberia. His name is Washington, and I would like to welcome Washington on board. And next, hello, Washington, how are you doing?
I am good, Miracle. How are you doing as well?
I'm good. And next, our next guest I will be calling on is from the United States of America, Philadelphia. Please welcome on board Mr. King.
Hey, Miracle. Hey, Washington. How's everyone tonight?
Yeah, we're doing good. It's pretty good here. It's beautiful.
It's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
amazing to have you two on board tonight. I appreciate you guys joining Stories of Fashion. Thank
Well, thank
you
you for
so
having me,
much.
Miracle. I appreciate it. I definitely do.
Before we start the show, do you guys have anything to say? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you think about this topic on happiness? Mr. Washington, Mr. Ken?
Yeah, so definitely. I so I think you know, but I'll share with your audience. I grew up in Southwest Philadelphia. Have lived in Massachusetts, North Carolina, Washington D.C., DMV area, Baltimore. So I've been up and down the East Coast of America, and met a lot of people. So I think what you're doing is amazing with your channel, and your book and your poetry. I think it's an amazing journey that you're on, and I'm just happy to be a part of it tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ken. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. And I know you're gonna, I'm pretty sure you're definitely gonna enjoy this show and your different perspective on happiness, different views, and different cultures. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much again. What's up with you, Mr. Washington?
Yeah, so I'm Washington and born, raised in Liberia. Um, I have had, a couple of experience um, from one part of the city to another, and I have not traveled like Ken has traveled America. I have not traveled around Liberia. I schooled in Liberia. I for the record, I am a practicing journalist, and I've worked with a lot of great media institutions in Liberia. Currently, I work with one of the most premier media institutions in Liberia, and I do a lot for communication. So this is who I am, and it's a pleasure being on the show tonight. And I'd just like to give you my felicitation that you're doing absolutely well with this channel, and I look forward to having a wonderful and a fantastic conversation centered around happiness. It cuts across. It encompasses a lot. What we see, what we go through. It's a pleasure being here tonight again, like a team. So I'm happy today that we have Ken on, and I'm sure we can have an expanded conversation. I'm happy being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much for the compliment. I'm happy to be having you guys tonight on show. So tonight, I don't want to delay your time on this because it's gonna be a little bit longer. I just want to get straight into the topic. I have heard a lot of people talk about happiness. People have different definitions of happiness, what happiness is. And through that, they were able to discover themselves, they were able to share their story. So, from your perspective of life, how you grew up, what does happiness really mean to you? Any one of you guys can
Yeah, Ken can go first. I will come later.
answer.
Okay.
Okay.
So happiness, the concept of happiness, I think definitely um, is a moving target. Um, and it shouldn't be a moving target for you, but I think it's a moving target for a lot of individuals. So I'll just give you how I see happiness. And happiness is a state of being. So a state of contentment, uh, possibly depending on when you're actually experiencing happiness, a state of uh, being in a situation where you're enjoying what's going on. I think that a lot of people chase happiness as if it's something outside of themselves. But I think when you find that happiness actually emanates from within, that's when you really discover happiness, and then two, that's when you can actually be happy. Um, and I mean, you made the distinction of talking to people from different cultures. So I think in the U.S., they always promote happiness as something that comes outside of you. They promote it as a diamond ring. Actually, being around Christmas time, a diamond ring, a new toy. But they promoted something being outside of you, and that's not true happiness, because that diamond ring next year won't be big enough for you. That toy will be broke. But when happiness emanates from you, and it's a state of being that you can exist in, then that never leaves you. Or if it does leave you because of situations, you can always grasp it and find it again. Happiness should not be a fleeting thing, um, as capitalism might promote it to you.
Wow. I strongly agree. I believe that happiness should be within. It should not just be, outside of it. Money. The word I would use for happiness is peace. So happiness to me, I feel like it's happy peace of mind in your comfort zone. And that's a great definition. I appreciate it. What's up with you, Washington? What you think?
Okay, so thank you very much. Ken said some very interesting things about happiness, but I think happiness is design of the right kind of strategy to develop, the right environment. Happiness is just not an event. It's a process. In my recollection, to be happy, it takes a lot of work to be done to be happy. So I think happiness generate from within, like he said, happiness supposed to come from within. It's not merely the outward result that we see. Maybe someone expresses their emotions out and people see, say, and they identify that, oh, she's happy, he's happy, or they're happy. But I think happiness is actually a calculation between a sad period and a determined period. So Happiness has to do with the amount of work you do, the amount of calculations you do, the amount of force and efforts you apply in what you want to achieve. That is the happiness. Now, what we see at a particular moment is just the result of what you plan or what you did, the efforts that you put in for the result that you got. So we just see, like, like, take typical example, the football players, when they score the goal, they celebrate. That moment is derived from the effort that they put into what they celebrate. So I believe happiness is a process. Happiness is planning. Happiness is endurance. Happiness is continuous, perseverance. Happiness is something that you don't give up on. And I don't see happiness to be a momentary celebration. No, I don't see happiness to be something that we just do within a split second. No, I see happiness to be something that we work on, something that we spend a lot of time planning, something that we spend a lot of time putting ideas together, something that we spend a lot of time working hard to achieve. I think that process between the start to the finish, I believe that process is what leads to what we call happiness. So happiness, it is a process. I believe it's a process. I believe it's hard work. I believe it's continuous effort. I believe it's consistency. I believe it's diligence. I believe it's the result of all of the efforts that you put into a
Wow.
particular thing to generate what you want, to generate where you are. You are happy today. We are happy today because you put a lot of time, a lot of resources into this work, in building this network. So the result of your effort is what I call happiness.
Oh, wow. That's a deep definition. Thank you. I could get the passion in your voice when you was talking like what happiness is. I remember talking to somebody on happiness and they said happiness is all about getting money. I'm like, wow, everybody mindset is
Hmm.
different when it comes to happiness. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, some people don't believe that happiness is within. So and at this stage, like in life, what are some of the strategies you think like you can use to discover happiness? What can you use to discover happiness?
So, and it's going to obviously differ for each individual because it's going to be based on how you see happiness. If it's an outside pursuit that you're working towards, then it's going to be working towards that outside pursuit. If it's making more money, if it's achieving a goal, then that's probably going to be how you see and how you prepare for happiness. But again, with how I see happiness, it's about contentment. It's about being content with where you are at the moment, even if you're striving for a goal, where you are at the moment. Um, even if you're even if you see happiness as a thing to be gained, that you're searching for, you have to be content. One of the problems that I see with happiness being outside of you is it's hard to maintain that. So if happiness is outside of you, no matter what the goal is, once you reach that goal, are you only happy in the moment? So I give you a prime example. If you're in school and you graduate, you achieve that goal, you're happy for that day, but life continues. Like
Yeah.
there's like the day after you graduate, there's more life. Lord willing, creek don't rise. There's more life to be had. There's more life to go through. So if it's outside of you, then now you have to set a new goal. Um, and I don't have any problem with people who do that, but I learned in my lifetime that to continue to do that really dulls your happiness, or dulled my happiness. Maybe that's better. It dulled my happiness to continue to, because at a certain point, There are no more degrees to get.
Hmm.
At a certain point, no matter how much money you earn, and people, although people believe it, there's no more money to get. Like, because at some point, one or two things going to run out: the money or the time. So,
Right.
so, you know, the day after you leave this place on your one way ticket, there's no more money to get. Like, there's nothing you could do. And if you spent your whole time, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with chasing money. I mean, I own a business, been in business for over 20 years, so I don't think there's anything wrong with chasing money. But if that's the genuine root of your happiness, it's going to be it can be a fleeting happiness. So when I look at happiness and when I strategize for happiness, I strategize about content. I strategize about how
Mm.
I can be content where I am right now. Even though I know there are other goals that I want to accomplish, I can be proud of the goals that I've accomplished to this point and be happy where I am at this point. Tomorrow's a new day. There's more work to be done tomorrow, but I'm good. I'm happy with where I am today. I'm content. I'm not, I'm not looking outside. I'm not looking at anybody else's yard, talking about their grass. I'm very content with what I've done and what I've accomplished. And then I think then you get to a point um, where as you live and you see the world, you get to a point where you start understanding how to be happy in moments. Um, or and you've always known this, but you look back and you realize, okay, that's where I was most happy. So, for example, the football analogy, I played football for a very long time, and I was happiest in the midst of the game. Yeah, the score is nice, but in the midst from the first whistle to the last whistle, when you only have to focus on the game, and if your skill set is better than your opponent's skill set, you are happy in that moment. You are happiest in that moment. Um, and then I tell people to reach, as they go through life, continue to find those things. Continue to find, some people it's woodworking. While they're woodworking, while they're in their shop, while they're creating something, they're in their happiest. For some people, it's writing. When they're writing and they lose track of time, and then that's their strategy. That's when they're their happiest. So, for some people, it's golfing. When they're on the course and they're out there and it's just them, nature, and uh, the golf course, they're at their happiest. So, a lot of times it could be the strategy for happiness is trying to find times where you could be truly immersed in something that you enjoy, or truly immersed in being content with who you are, where you are at the time.
Right. I strongly agree with you, but I have a question on what you said earlier. You said that it is hard to build happiness. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? How is it hard to find it?
No, when I say that, it's hard when you're chasing it. So a lot of people, and the United States, and this is a very general statement, but in the United States, a lot of people chase happiness, which is why the psychotropic drug industry in the United States is so big, because people are chasing happiness. They're not looking within and not trying to be happy with themselves. That's why the cosmetic surgery industry in the United States is a $1 billion industry. That's, you have all in the United States, we have all these industries um, that are that are predicated on people not being happy with themselves.
I see.
So, yeah, so chasing when you start chasing happiness as some outward, whether it's a physical trait, again, where we're talking about money, that's how in the US, a lot of times, not a lot of times, they have commercials every day to teach you how not to be happy with yourself.
Right. In America, they do that. Other part of the world, they discover it. They already don't teach it, but they make you cover it. So I agree with you on that. Thank you for that. For your thoughts and opinion on the strategies of happiness. What's up with you, Washington? What do you think of it? What are some of the strategies you can use to discover happiness?
All right, so thank you very much. And Ken made some very strong points, and I think those points were very, very electrifying when it comes to identifying the strategies to your happiness. But I think the first thing in my mind, because I'm having my notepad, the first thing you need to do, the first strategy you need to employ to identify happiness is to define yourself. That's the first thing I think you need to do. Define yourself. You need to ask yourself who you are. Why are you here? What is the mission? Define yourself. That's the first thing you need to do, because if you don't define yourself, you're actually not going to get your purpose. So if you define yourself, I am Washington. What is my mission? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to bring up a new generation. How am I supposed to lay the foundation? How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to do that? I am doing this as a responsibility to set up a new generation. What are the methodologies? So you define who you are. That's the first step in generating happiness. That's the first strategy, because you can never reach your happy moment. You can never achieve your happiness if you don't define who you are and where you're going. So you first need to define yourself. When you define yourself, the next thing you do is to set goals. Now, in order to achieve happiness, you need to set goals. Now, I want to be one of the best journalists in Liberia, around the world. That is my ambition. Now, but I cannot achieve that. The first thing I need to do is that I need to define myself. I used to be in the church. I used to be singing music. I used to be, even though it is not a bad thing, I used to be playing football before. I used to be doing other things, so I was all over the place, not having a specific thing to do. That is, I can achieve all of these different ideas one time. I'm just one person who's supposed to be in one capacity and do absolutely well in that particular capacity. I cannot be a footballer at the same time I'm a musician, at the same time I'm a journalist, at the same time I'm this person and that person. No, it doesn't work. That kind of versatility does not apply to your future. You must design yourself. You must define yourself. You must develop yourself, and you must fertilize your field in where you want to do. So define yourself, number one. Number two, set your goals. Now, these are the strategies. I want to be a talk show host. What are the goals of being a talk show host? You have to do this. You have to learn this. You have to employ this idea. Now you set goals. What am I supposed to achieve? I'm making a plan to buy a car. When I have that car, I'll be happy. So what is the process? I need to have a job. I need to save. I need to make some payments. So you set the goals to get your happiness. So if you don't set goals, you don't get happiness. Happiness don't come instantaneously. They come by hard work and diligence. So define yourself, set goals, identify your cycle. Number three. So number one, define yourself. Number two, set your goals. Number three, identify your cycles. Now, your cycles play pivotal role in the achievement of your happiness. Now, your cycle determines where you're going. Your cycle determines where you stay. Your cycle determines, how progressive you become. So I cannot be a journalist, and I am among people who don't think the way I think, who don't do what I want to do, who are not going where I want to go. I cannot be a footballer and be friends and be close companies of people who are not thinking in the direction that I'm thinking. So I need to identify my cycle. So if you want to kill your happiness, invite the wrong people around you. If you want to promote your happiness, invite the right people around you. The fact that you can identify your cycle, you can get your happiness. If you can you can identify your cycle, you definitely will miss your purpose. So your happiness is your purpose. Your happiness is your goal. And there are people that are responsible to take you there. You can't get there alone. So you need the right people. You need the right people to take you to your happiness. Your happiness could be your marriage. Your happiness could be your dream home. Your happiness could be your job. Now, how do you get to the job? You need the people in the capacity of your job to get you to where you want to be. How do you get to your marriage? You need the right cycle. You need the right man. You need the right woman. You know, that's your cycle. That's the people you want to have around you. So if you can have these people around you and identify the people that you are taking with you to your happiness, you cannot break loose of the kind of wrong cycle and break into the right cycle. Definitely, you cannot achieve your happiness. You need to use this method to achieve your happiness. Number 4, include people who are in the same direction. So after you identify your cycle, now here is it. There is a difference between cycle and people who are in the direction you are into. Now, everybody can be a journalist, but not everybody can be what you want to be. Now, I am a journalist and I'm a talk show host. That man is a journalist, but he's a sport journalist. That other person is a journalist, but he's an agricultural journalist. That other person is a journalist, but she is just a reporter. Now, we all are journalists, but we don't do exactly the same work. So I am a journalist and I want to be a talk show host. I better go to who are talk show hosts, who are professional talk show hosts. Regardless of the fact that we all are footballer, but I am a winger. This is a midfielder. This is a defender. This is this person. This is a goalkeeper. I am not a goalkeeper. I am a winger. So I need to be friends with the winger. Even though we all are footballers, but my close companions will be the wingers because I want to be a professional winger. My close companion would be a talk show host. It's not going to be an agriculture journalist because I don't intend being an agriculture journalist. I intend being a talk show host. So my close companions will be talk show hosts, regardless of the fact that all of us we are journalists. But I have to identify the people that are in my direction. I identify my cycle, and then I have to make a one step ahead to identify the people in my direction. So number 1, define yourself. Number 2, set your goals. Number 3, identify your cycle. Number 4, include people who are in your direction. And number 5, cut off backslider quickly. Now, what am I trying to say on this? There are other people who are in the same direction with you, but they are distractions. They don't think what you want to think. You know, they may take your happiness for granted. You know, we all are journalists. We all are in the same direction. We all are moving to the same place, but other people are not progressive like the way you are. You know, there are wingers, but it is not all wingers that make a good winger. It is not all musicians that reach at the top. It is not all footballers that reach at the top. Now, there are a lot of footballers in the world, but there are not much of them that are at the level of Messi or Ronaldo. There are not much musicians that are at the level of Michael Jackson, even at his death. There are not musicians that are at the level of Jay-Z and Beyonce and Rihanna. They've been in the game for a long time, but they have not achieved. So, what am I trying to say? There are other people who want to distract you from reaching your happiness, but all of you in the same cycle, all of you doing the same job, all of you in the same employment, all of you in the same industry, all of you in the same ministry. But you have to break loose of the kind of wrong cycle if you want to achieve your happiness. Now, how am I going to achieve my happiness? I'm a comedian, and there are a lot of comedians, but not all comedians reach out the top. I want to get out the top, but other people are comfortable where they are. I can't be comfortable with the people that are comfortable where they are. I need to be comfortable with the people that are up the top. So I need to include the right people and break loose of the wrong people who are getting me in the wrong direction. So if I need my happiness, I need to cut off. You got to cut off. A lot of people have not cut off the wrong people. That is the reason why they keep having the same setbacks, the same feedback, because of the wrong company, because of the wrong people, because of the wrong things they continue to do. Now, there's a politician in our country called Ellis Cummings. He said, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. If you keep doing the same thing, you're not gonna get different. You're not gonna get different result. You're gonna get the same result. You're not going to be reporting news from year number 1 to year number 5 the same way, and you expect yourself to be the best journalist in the country. No, that is not possible. You're not going to be doing a talk show the same way and asking the same repeated question and imitating the same person, and you expect yourself to be the best journalist in the country. No, you need to employ a new strategy. You need to develop yourself. You need to improve. You need to mount up your qualities. You need to improve your strategies. You need to know the quality of guests that you have. You need to work out the different modalities, to get you to the top. Other people are complacent. Other people are satisfied where they are. You need to be uncomfortable. If you want to get your happiness, you need to be uncomfortable with your condition. You need to be uncomfortable with the things you see. You need to know that there are bigger things ahead, but you need to employ more effort. You need to be more diligent. You just need to know that you are not satisfied until you get to the top. Even when you get to the top, you still have to have that optimism that there are still other places you haven't touched yet. So, these things, if you can't identify these things, I'm sorry, you cannot have any good strategy to get your happiness. You need to identify, define yourself. You need to set your goals. You need to identify your cycle. You need to include the right people in your direction. And you need to cut off backsliders quickly if you want to get your happiness.
Wow. Wow. That's a great strategy. Ken, do you have
Yeah.
anything to say about that?
No, I again, I think
I can't hear you,
you
Ken.
know,
Can you speak a little louder?
I said again, I think that's where Washington and I diverge. I think one, it's a great strategy, especially if you're working to accomplish goals and professional goals. I think it's amazing. It's just that, again, as I stated, happiness comes from within. So we just diverge on a strategy. I mean, I think I think that again, those milestones will make you happy. Uh, they will make you happy. Whenever you reach a milestone, you'll be ecstatic. But then you have to get up again the next day and continue. And again, like I said, I think if when you see happiness outside of yourself, then those are great strategies. I mean, because you do need to find your purpose. You do need to have know why you're on the planet. Um, but when you know why you're on the planet, I think that gives you some contentment. And so again, my thing is and will continue to be that the start of happiness is being content with who you are. And then once you can achieve that contentment with who I am, then then you'll be able to go to the next step, which is happiness, which is being happy in the moment, having days of happiness, being because bad times are going to come. Life is going to come at you extremely quickly. And I know in the chase, a lot of times in those, the next question or the next topic that we were talking about when you're broken. I don't believe in being broken, but there is a possibility of I believe in setbacks and I believe in hurdles, but I don't believe in necessarily being broken. But people may feel broken as they go through and pursue their goals and they face pushback from the world. They face failure. They face drawbacks. Because as you go, especially again, this is the problem. This is the problem with capitalism. Capitalism acts like we all can't be there, that we all can't be great journalists, that we all can't be great attorneys, that we all can't be great insurance brokers. And I always challenge that with we don't know how much capitalism can support. because it tries to destroy so many people. We don't know what that real number is. We don't know how many, because, and then it becomes a local level, it becomes on a national level, it becomes on a world level, because there are, how many lawyers, attorneys at The Hague, how many lawyers, how many attorneys in England, how many in the US, how many in Canada. And then even when you start looking at that top number of lawyers, attorneys, journalists, doctors, if you start taking world numbers, there's a lot more opportunity. So again, so that's where we diverge. I don't disagree. We just diverge at happiness. I believe happiness comes from within. That you have at all those levels, you have to be happy with what you're doing and the pursuit, because again, it may take you longer than you expect, and then if you're not happy from within, that's when the feeling, I'm gonna say feeling in quotes, of brokenness begins. And that could take over. So that's why if you start from the outside first, if you start from the inside first, then that brokenness just becomes another challenge. That disappointment just becomes another challenge. That setback just becomes another challenge, because you're already content with yourself, and you know that the world will throw things at you to try to discourage you from being content and happy with yourself. That's the whole purpose. That's what we're talking about, the U.S., and that's why they throw so many commercials about, about like prime example. I'll give you prime example. This time of year, cars. There's a new car commercial about getting a car for Christmas. Now, you might have got a car for Christmas 3 years ago. There's nothing wrong with the car you got 3 years ago, but this one, but 2025 or 2026 is shinier, brighter, and newer. But you probably only have the new car you bought 3 years ago. You only got 30,000 miles on it. This car can go for 250,000. So, so it's that. So if you're content with the car that you're in, that car that they're advertising you doesn't, it doesn't even register. And that's the same with brokenness. That's the same with disappointment. If you're content with who you are, that disappointment, or that hurt, or that lack of accomplishment on that day barely even registers.
Wow. And I feel like what you just answered the next question, but I want to say this, like every one of you guys' opinions was really like brilliant, and I love it. For me, I believe that happiness, even though we have to discover ourselves, like Washington said, the goals, the strategy we have to use, like isolating negative people out of your mind. But I believe one of the key points to happiness, even if you have all of these, is controlling your mind. If you don't control your mind, you can have all the money, you can like accomplish all your goals, but if you don't control your mind how to be happy, it's impossible for you. That's what I believe. I feel like that's how it is. And it also goes to the next question, how do you discover
So those are taught on that, controlling your mind. So mental control also encompasses with self-definition. Like if you have to define yourself. When you know who you are, you control your mind. When you know what you want, that's what I'm saying. I know what I want. I have defined myself. Like I see people in the streets, right? I know that drug is harmful. I know it's detrimental. And when I define myself not to be in that category, I've already controlled what I want. So mental control and self-definition, I think they work together. They work
I
together.
yeah, it's the same anyway, you can say that. And so to ask you the next question, Washington, like, how, like, when you find yourself broken, because Ken already answered this, how do you like find happiness when you're not happy when you're not
Sorry, your comment is stopped in.
I said, how do you find happiness when you find yourself broken? Like you are not, you're trying, going through challenges. How do you
So
find?
it's how can you find happiness in brokenness?
Yes.
Wow. So the first thing, brokenness is the paper question to happiness. That's the first thing we need to understand. So brokenness is the approach to happiness. So the fact that you, like Kim said, happiness comes from within. So the first contemplation that you need to have is that how do you address the the paper question from within? Now, there is this conception that I have, and it just means that be willing to stand alone anytime because friendship is temporary. So the first thing you need to do is that you need to have a concept that you have a personal responsibility and not a collective responsibility. Don't expect people to take your moments. That is, don't expect people to always be around you. You need to build that concept. You see, the reason why a lot of us fail and we don't get to realize our purpose, that's why you see some people commit suicide. Some people say they're frustrated in life. Some people say they've been abandoned, they've been neglected. Some people say, the world has turned upside down. It's because you think that people should always be around you.
Hmm.
It's because you think that people have an inalienable responsibility to you, and that is wrong. This, my pastor used to say this. He said, nobody is responsible for your happiness but you, not your wife, not your mother, not your father, not your brother, not your sister, not anybody but you. So if you can control your happiness, nobody does it for you because the next person has his own happiness to control. The other person you're thinking about, every individual person has their own responsibility. So how can you find happiness in sadness? You need to know that you will always be you.
Hmm.
You need to know that you don't share your responsibility with anyone.
Right.
You need to know that you need to have that self motivation.
Hmm.
Sometimes you need to go in a dark room. You need to have your quiet moment. And you just need to look at yourself and just excuse the word for a while and redefine yourself and encourage yourself. There are certain times in life you'll get at a point where the word is going to disappear. The word is not going to be around you. Everybody is going to leave. Do you do the thing about it is that we don't build that mentality that people are not going to stay. We don't. When we have it, we see people around. They come around. Know that friendship is temporary based on what you offer.
Right.
The fact that you can offer me anything, I don't have business to continue the friendship. Some friendships are profitable. Look,
Exactly.
people just leave themselves. You understand? People just leave themselves bleak minded. They don't turn of their peace and stability, their mental condition, even in a relationship. When you are in a relationship with a person, know that there will always be crises, and these crises might possibly lead to mental disorder if you do not have a room for disappointment. That's why I always, my story.
Hmm.
And you've been one person encouraging me. And I told you, I said, I know that difficult times will come. So how do you find happiness in sadness? It's that you need to know that you have a personal battle. You need to know that you have you to face. You need to know that you have the word against you. You need to know that you don't carry anybody's burden but yours. And nobody carries your burden but you. You
Wow.
need to know that when you were coming into this word, you came alone.
Mm.
When you were coming into this word, nobody hold your hands to bring you. Nobody came along with you and say, I came along with you, so I will be with you for the rest of your life. No.
Wow.
If you can build that mindset that nobody is responsible for my happiness, that's why people commit suicide.
You're right.
That's why people lose their mental health. I expect that heart to be with me even to my dying times. You got it wrong. She will leave you. She has her own time. Every single person in this world has their own trials to face.
You're right.
Your trial can never be my trial, and my trial can never be your trial. Even in marriage, that's why people break up. That's why people divorce. Because there's certain thing about you I can't take, even though I married you, but sometimes you don't prioritize my happiness.
Mm.
Sometimes it's all about you. Sometimes you want to do what is against my happiness. So know that you are responsible for your happiness and no other person. If we lack that mentality, then we cannot find happiness in sadness. Until we know this, it's impossible.
Wow. I love your thoughts. Very powerful. That's a great definition. Ken, if you have anything to say before I ask the question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I appreciate you guys' um thoughts on these questions that I'm asking. Now the next question I want to ask. I want to know if you can what are some of the happiest moments of your life that you have experienced, like a testimony, a short story, if you can brief on it, if you want to share.
I'm sure Ken is hearing you, but I'm not getting you clear.
No,
Can you hear
can
me?
you repeat that? Yeah, you
Yeah,
So
please
I'm
repeat it.
asking, can you name one of the happiest moment of your life that made you discover yourself?
The major to do what?
made you discover yourself.
Discover, discover
Okay.
So that
yourself.
so that's a hard question for me because I never because
Okay, it's fine.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because
Why is it hard for you?
my father made sure that we always knew who we were.
Wait, can you
It
speak
was his,
louder? I'm sorry.
I said my father made sure, God rest his soul, my father made sure that we knew who we were before we left his house. So by the time I became grown, I wasn't looking to discover myself. I was already knew who I was. I was confident in who I was. Um, and it was just a matter of living life and growing and the person that my father knew that I could be, knew that, and this is not for me, this is for me and all my siblings. He just instilled a certain uh, confidence and awareness of the world in us, that I didn't go out into the world as a young adult searching necessarily for who I was. I mean, I kind of hit the ground running in regards to that's when I was really trying to chase accomplishments. So whether it was school, whether it was athletic performance, it was more that. So it wasn't really a discovery process. That's why I said it's a hard question for me to answer. Um, I mean, and so it was easy for me to, um, and with that foundation, it was easy for me to one be happy in some great moments, whether that was on the I'll say on the football field, or whether that was in class, or whether that was just life experiences. Um, then as I got older and transitioned from playing to coaching, I had a lot of very I think that was where a lot of my joy came from, and just watching the athletes that I coached accomplish their goals, and seeing them work through hard times in regards to learning the sport, becoming proficient at the sport, and becoming champions. I think those were some of the happiest moments. But again, I've never been in the business of searching for happiness. Again, and that's the thing too, that I think, again, if I'm going to express to people, for whose ever life this video comes in. And again, that's why I'm always, whenever I talk to you, and I say it's so important what you're doing, and what your dream is and your mission is, because I err on the other side. I err on the side of, I believe that there are millions of good people out there, and if you put good into the world, good will be returned to you. I mean, there's the natural ups and downs of life. It's just going to happen. But as far as generally speaking on how your life presents itself and rolls out, you can either believe in people or not. And I always choose to believe in people. Now, obviously, you have to be discerning when you live like that. Don't get me wrong. You have to be discerning, because there are bad people out there. But um, I've in my experience, in my few decades on the planet, that if you treat people well, uh, that will come back to you. People will treat you well.
Right.
And it could happen. It could happen in the same interaction. I've seen that too. I've been involved in that too, where you started out rocky, and it was just merely a misunderstanding, because
Wow.
one of everybody involved was having a bad day, and so and you're talking to, and now again, I have 30, 40 year friendships.
Wow.
So folks who leave our friendships, we're carrying them to their final destination. So
Hmm. Hmm.
so that's, so it's really, when you're going through this thing called life, it's not life is not a single game player. It's a team effort. And sometimes it takes people longer to find what team they belong on. But life is a team effort. And the isolation a lot of times is what breaks people. If you isolate yourself for too long, um, and the disappointment comes, like all these things can exasperate uh, the sadness. Like, again, especially, I'm always speaking about the U.S. because that's the culture I'm most familiar with, because I've lived in it all my life. But the things that the U.S. hits you with, the capitalism, the
Right.
commercialism especially, all these things, and I taken in isolation, have the ability to break someone. So you do have to have, and that one of the things I do in life is teach people how to build genuine relationships,
Right.
create events that people can actually meet each other in person, and
Right.
start to find their team members, their tribe, in a manner, and in
Hmm.
a society that wants you to be isolated, it seems sometimes. So that's why it's a difficult question for me to answer, but I think I'll
It's
try to answer it to the
okay.
best of my
The reason
ability.
why I asked that question, it might be difficult to you because I have come across a lot of people on this question most people said that how they find happiness in order for them to discover themselves. Some of them say it's by getting married. Some say it's by making more money, just doing something like as Washington said earlier, like being around people. That's how they find happiness. For you, you already have happiness in your home. Discover it. Your parents taught you it. Other people know they never grew up that way. They had to go out
Mhm.
there and find happiness because either their parents were not around them or they were abused in some kind of way. So that's the reason why I asked that question. It might be easy for Washington to ask that question. What you think, Washington? I'm not hearing you. You muted. You are muted.
No, it's not. It's not an easy question. I would agree with Cam. It's not an easy question. It's a difficult question, but it comes in two forms, right? Like he said, and I was sitting very attentively listening to his explanation about his discovery. He didn't have to process his discovery. His discovery was already processed. And what he needed to do was to build upon the discovery. That is one way of discovering the moment that makes you happy. That moment was discovered not by him but by his parent, and he built upon that moment. Now, but it's difficult that um you meet the moment and you looking for the moment. There's a two analogy. He met the moment, he was given the moment, and he built on it. Now, so it's difficult for me because now here is the condition. I never had the opportunity um, to have that moment. My parent didn't give me that moment. I didn't know who I would have become. Now, before my father passed, I can remember when I was still in high school. Uh, there was one thing he told me. He said, "I'd like you to be a lawyer." And then I asked him, I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I like the way you handle conversations." And I said, "Why you want me to be a lawyer?" And he said, "Yes, because lawyers are good talkers. So you talk good, yeah, you talk good, and you give a logical understanding about the incident. You have good clients." And I told him, I said, "But I don't dream of being a lawyer." You understand? That was just a suggestion. It was not a point of identifying my moment. I didn't identify my moment. So identifying your moment without a guardian or without a pillow is difficult. It's absolutely difficult. Sometimes it takes you nearly almost your life.
Right.
Yes, it takes you almost nearly your life. Now, how did I discover the moment? I had to discover my moment myself when I got in college for the very first semester. That's when I discovered my moment. So I discovered my moment myself. When I got to college, I had to affiliate with some groups on campus, and they made me, when I became supposed, we had a debate. We had a debate on campus. It was during elections, a freshman election at the time, and we lost the elections. And so when we ended the semester, and then a friend came over and said, "Well, Washington, there is a vacancy. There's an opportunity to work as a journalist." I had no understanding of what journalism is. And then I
Right.
asked the girl, I say, "But I don't know anything about journalism. How am I going to work?" She said, "But you look good, and I think you can give it a try." I didn't know. So I sat and I said, "But how is it going to be like? I don't know it." So I said, "Let me just do it." So I just did the communication, the application, and I submitted. We went for the interview, and uh, I sat the interview, and the lady came over and said, "I think you will be good." I said, "But I don't know it." Now, so shockingly, the very first day of the interview was the. So after the interview, I didn't go home right away. They took me from the interview straight to conduct a TV show that I have no idea.
Wow.
Yes. So discovering my moment was critical.
Wow.
So I asked the girl, the very girl who encouraged me, we passed the interview and they paired us on the same team and they made me the lead host of the show. And they said, Washington, you lead the show while she will co-host the show. And then they sent us in the studio right away. Go and do the show. More besides, to make it worse, there was a lady who came that day with a problem. It was a human related issue. And she came, and the boss said, go and Washington will interview you. I have never done that.
Wow.
It was so strange. And I look at the guy in the studio. I say, how do you do this? How do you do this? He said, okay, what you do, just sit down in the chair. I will stand over you and I'll be telling you what to do. And I had that interview, and the manager did not even know that I had never sat on an interview before.
Wow.
I discovered that moment. The very first day I had a TV interview, I knew that I was called to be a journalist.
Wow.
Then I proceeded. It didn't take me less than 3 months. They made me the director for radio.
Wow.
It didn't take less than a month or a couple of months. I had a transfer to another radio station. It also didn't take me long. I had a transfer to work in town. It didn't take me a year. I had a transfer to work to ELBC, Liberia's biggest media institution. It didn't take me a year. I had to become one of the fastest growing journalists to ever have one of the wider transfers to bigger radio stations in our country.
Wow.
So discovering that moment, how I believe that I can communicate. I didn't know that. I
Wow.
never had the experience of communication. So discovering that moment was partly impossible. I did not have a mentor. I did not have someone to put me on track. I did not have a foundation. I did not have, because the time I was supposed to have it, I lose the person, or I lost the person who's supposed to be around. So where am I? How am I going to do it? Who am I? Am I a footballer? Am I a musician? Am I a politician? Am I a journalist? What is going to discover me? What is that moment? So I had to find it. I had to go out. I can't get it. I tried this way. I can't get it. I played professional football up to second division level. It wasn't working. I went to music school. I started music. I play instruments. It wasn't working. But when I had my first radio and TV interview, it worked.
Wow.
So I discovered the moment.
Wow.
So here am I today on being connected with you, hosting you in when you came to Liberia, and you find pleasure in working with me. And here am I today on your show. I have been on almost all of the biggest TV stations in Liberia. It worked. That is my moment.
Wow. 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 I don't know what to say because you guys is like just what I the main like quote in stories of fashion that say when you think your story is the worst, listen to somebody's story. I'm telling you, like having Kenneth and you Washington, Kenneth discovered happiness within his home. His father taught him. And you have to go out there. You never had any of those support. You have to go out there and discover it. it just makes me to understand that life is not fair. Everybody will not find it the way you find it. When you find it easy, somebody might find it difficult. It just, I just love like how people's stories make you to understand the definition of life, how people made it through it, and it's very touching. I could tell Washington, you was a little bit emotional that you struggled through it. Trust me, there are other people who have struggled through it, they never made it. And even Ken, like the way you came up, you discover it. There are some people who discover it who had all the opportunity, but then they didn't take advantage of it. They end up going different way in life, you know. So it goes both ways. I really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts and understanding on happiness. And we're about to wrap up, but before we wrap up, I just want to ask one more question. This is the last question, I promise you guys. What advice would you give to people out there on understanding happiness? What advice would you give?
So, uh, and so I want to do two things. One, I want to say thank you to Washington because I really appreciate this opportunity, this time that I got to spend with him today. And then I wanted to highlight something that he said that goes to my worldview, that this is a team sport. So his moment happened because someone thought enough of him, young ladies thought enough of him to recommend him and inform him that there's an opportunity here. Um, and that's what I mean by a team sport. Because if not for that young lady, that moment, though it may have happened, it may have happened later. Um, and those are the things when I talk about life being a team sport and people there being so many good people out there that that's one of the things that I wanted to stress and wanted to just point out. Um, and in answering your question, the question is that the again, my thing always going to be is happiness is from within. So find that. So one, try, no matter what situation you're in currently, all over the world, and there are people who are in some horrible situations not of their making. But if you can find contentment and a way forward, if you're in a bad situation, if you're in not so bad a situation, find contentment in where you are. And because the it's hard for me to believe that for people that believe in a divine in divinity and a God, and a God whose image that they were made in, and to people who believe in their ancestors, um that they don't believe in themselves. Like, so you have to
Hmm.
first start believing in, like, you're like, uh whether you have a Christian, Islamic, or Jewish base, you were created in God's image. That's They all believe that. And whether you maybe have a belief of the ancestors, those are the people who you come from. So at no point in human existence is your existence by accident. No matter how you view the divine. And so you got to find contentment in your existence,
Right.
and that you're here for a reason, and then start living that out. So there's a way forward. I think that especially um, on the U.S. side of the pond, there are a lot of people who are discouraged right now, and I would encourage them not to be. I would encourage them that if you keep on living and you keep on pushing forward, things will change.
Hmm.
Um, but you are enough, and it's just a matter of using your God-given talents to figure out what you need to do to make the things that you want to come into your life, to bring them into your life. If you start moving that direction, those things will start moving towards you.
Wow. Wow. That's a great advice. It really touched me. I, it touched me really because I feel like happiness, you have to believe within yourself. You have to know yourself. Everything you guys just made is just a word of motivation. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that belief and for that advice, honestly. Thanks. It was a great show. Oh, I didn't watch it. But thank you so much. Before I wrap up this show, do you have anything else to say?
No, I would just want to thank you, Miracle. I mean, I think stories of passion is amazing. I always think of you when someone tells me one of their stories, and I said, you need to talk to
Very.
Miracle because there are so many great stories of triumph out there. There are so many great stories of people caring about other people out there. And the more that you can get those out and encourage people, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. And if you know any one of them who wants to share their story, I know Ken, you got me. So just let them know. Let them just talk to Miracle. You got Miracle's number. So thank you so much. Washington, do you have any advice on to give to anybody who's seeking happiness right now? We can just be brief and short.
Yeah, very brief, maybe a minute in few seconds or 2 minutes at most. Like Cam said, happiness is within. There is no other way. It comes from within. You need to build it. You need to think it. You need to work it, and that comes from within. So it is the result from within that brings out the outer reflection of what you build, what you work from within. The idea is from within. The enthusiasm is from within. Is happiness is from within. And those of you watching, and those of you who are going to watch this conversation later, um, I just like to let you know that from today, there's nobody on this planet that is responsible for your happiness. You are responsible for your happiness, not your mother, not your father, not your husband, not your wife, not your children. You are. So that is the reason why it's very important that you do not put your happiness in the hands of someone that, oh yes, whenever I think I'm around this person, it gives me joy. You should be the reason for your happiness. You should be the reason why you are always moving, why you're always going. When the world turns against you, it is you that makes you happy. It is you that make you encouraged. It is you because there are certain conditions, even the one who is always around you, there are certain conditions that will come and everybody will flee. Like the example of Job in the Bible. When the devil afflicted Job, even his wife cursed him. Even the children were not around him. Everybody left him. And he was with himself and he needs to encourage himself. And his wife said, why you can curse God and die? And he said, no, I have the hope that this is just a trial. And you know what it does. You know what happened when Job came back, when God had revived him. So happiness comes from within. And know that nobody is responsible for your happiness. It was good being here, and it was a wonderful experience with Cam tonight. And I look forward, maybe in the near future to come, maybe in 2026, one of these days, I know Cam will come back here and we'll have another conversation on something different. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. You guys were so great tonight. Thanks for being a part of Stories of Passion. And one day I would love to hear your story of passion. Nobody can tell your story better than you. When you think your story is the worst, listen to someone's story. So y'all, thank you so much. Everybody, I would like to say thank you for watching Stories of Passion. If you have a story to tell, contact us. That's all I have for tonight. And thank you so much for being a part of Stories of Passion. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. All right.